I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the December 7th, 2021 Board of Control meeting.
I'll put up the agenda, Mayor.
Yes, pull up the agenda, please.
There you go.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes?
Yeah, I had a question. What were we asking Rob Spolzino's legal opinion on?
We were asking his legal opinion on, how the dissolution, if there was a dissolution, how it would look. What would be the mechanics of it?
Okay.
And I haven't got an answer.
I can put dissolution on it. I can add that word and, right?
Okay, that'd be helpful. Just,
Okay,
thank you.
good. As amended.
Okay.
Next, sorry about that. There you
Next
go.
up is the budget.
I'm going to stop sharing so someone else can share.
I'll share.
Tracy, why don't you start?
Yep. Ooh, can you see it?
Yeah, looks good.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're back to the budget that I presented last meeting. However, this version, I reduced the distribution, or I increased the distribution by 25,000. So the only change to this version is that LMC TV would receive 554,127, and then the 50,000 would be just an additional 50,000 would be distributed to the municipalities for a total of 100,000 between the three of them right here. And that really is the only change. And what that does is leave 1,000,004 for PEG and $41,000 in the unrestricted fund balance in the event that the franchise fees don't come in as budgeted. I'm gonna now flip through the next page, and I just wanted you to note that the projection in column O there, we did receive the Verizon third quarter franchise fee here. I'm gonna make it in red. So that's the 100,306. We just received that, which is higher than last year and higher than actually the second quarter. So, but you can see that it fluctuates, 97, 93, 100. So it's a little hard to, really project exactly what it's going to be. So
I wonder if cable's gonna go down, because you hear a lot of people switching to Verizon just on social media pages. People complain about both, but I wonder if it's gonna be offset by a decrease in Altis.
Yeah,
It looks like that's the first time it's been over $100,000 in a while.
yeah, look all the way back. Last time was 2016, the fourth
Yeah.
quarter.
You think it's just an outlier?
I don't really know, I think people are switching around now. I just switched to streaming and I went from Verizon to Cablevision. And actually my service is much better than when I had Verizon Fios. So I don't know. And it saved me a lot of money.
But are you getting cable TV or are you just getting internet?
I'm just getting the internet, but I'm streaming through YouTube Live, YouTube TV.
Right. But if you're just getting the internet, we're not getting any money on that.
She doesn't live here anyway.
Yep. So, okay. So, and then the next tab really didn't change. It's just what was spent on the PEG money year to date. And then what we received on the PEG money year to date. So that's where the difference of 1.5 million. So far in 21, we've only spent $25,000 in equipment, and we have 130 each year, 65 from Verizon and 65 from cable. So that's what it's looking like. We need the budget approved so that we can continue to make payments January 1. and we can make any changes that you would like to recommend or discuss.
Abby, is Sarah?
No, I mean, last year we did talk about cutting the distribution more to the municipalities, but I guess you just took a middle road there.
So what I did, well, you know, when I realized that the numbers looked okay for the franchise fees, I sort of looked at the fund balance, and traditionally we've decreased what's been provided to LMC TV at the same rate as the distribution to the municipalities. So I was able to just add back 25,000 so that it's 100,000. But the other thing we also have to decide here, by the way, is if you notice, I have not distributed in 21 yet.
Yeah.
So depending on how this works out, I want to have your approval to make the distribution that was budgeted in 21. Now, remember that this included, I'm sorry, there was one other change that I did make. The last version had a $150,000 estimated negotiation cost. I lowered it to 100,000. Just because I feel like we did a lot of work, and I'm going to report on the auditors that I spoke to regarding the franchise fees, which in my mind, I think that we're not going to have to spend as much money, because one of them has already said that our franchise agreements are one of the best agreements they've seen, and that they're pretty ironclad. So that made me, feel better that maybe we don't have to negotiate so many of the items of the franchise agreement. So if you guys are comfortable with that, then, we'll talk about that more. But that's one of the numbers I reduced, which enabled me to increase the distributions to both LMC TV and the municipalities.
So was it originally reducing LMC by 75,000?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and the municipalities as well, Abby.
Okay.
Same rate.
I got it.
So you
Okay.
actually, you okay. We're now, so we're now putting out 50,000 more.
Yep,
Dispersing.
dispersing, yes.
So let me get this straight. We have the money set aside to do 2021's disbursements.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have 150,000, and LMC's been getting theirs monthly. So that's why they've already received the annual distribution of 604. But the municipalities haven't. Because remember, we said, let's see how the franchise fees go, and let's see
Yeah.
how much money we are going to maybe spend on negotiations in 21. Well, we
Yeah.
actually haven't spent any yet, so.
Do you typically, if it wasn't a negotiation year, do you typically disperse it quarterly, or have you always been doing it once a year?
It's always been once a year around November-ish, but I was waiting for this meeting for you to decide, going forward, so,
It's like a Christmas bonus.
yeah. So I would like to have, if you're okay with that, then maybe you can just, have that for the record, that I can disperse the 150, and then discuss the budget if you have any changes for next year.
I'm fine for dispersing 150. Ladies?
Yep.
Abby, you too?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
that's nice. There you go, Jerry.
Tracy,
No,
Tracy?
Augie was the one asking for that money.
when you get the chance, Tracy, could you share the details of that conversation you had regarding the franchise agreements?
yeah, I will. I think that's one of the items on the agenda.
Yeah, why don't you do that next?
Okay. All right, so you want to hold off on the 22 budget, come back to it, or?
No, you're right. I was just looking at we'll do that. Yeah, finish the 22 budget. I'm sorry.
Okay. So again, if you're okay with that, I just need the budget passed so that we can continue to make payments. So that's up to you three.
You folks ready to pass the budget?
Yes,
Okay, could I have a motion, please, to approve the Board of Control budget for 2022?
That motion.
All right, I'll second.
oh, second, no, sorry.
Okay, do Sarah second.
Abby cut out, I didn't hear her motion.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Just the village board would like to invite LMC. So we did have some questions about their budget, so we would like to invite them to come talk to the village board about the questions that we had regarding their budget.
I have questions on their budget as well. I assumed they were gonna talk about it.
They usually talk about their budget at this meeting, but that's.
It wasn't on the agenda, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
if
I
that
just
was-
realized that. Yeah, because I have questions from my board that I'd rather just.
So we've approved the Board of Control's budget. Let's go to the LMC budget, which we don't vote to approve, but they usually give a synopsis.
So, yeah, so I assume Matt will work with Sarah if he wants to go to their board, but I'll
Right.
just ask my questions after.
Yeah, I
you.
mean, if we're gonna ask the questions here, that's fine. It just wasn't on the agenda, so I.
Yeah,
wasn't-
Yeah, I didn't realize, yeah, we usually,
Well, we usually do it. I just assumed
Yeah.
we were.
Yeah.
So Abby, why don't you start?
well, I don't know, do they have a presentation or do you want us to just ask questions? What did you
Mark,
prepare?
would you like to go over the budget presentation, then have questions after?
Well, I think the budget with the notes was pretty complete, so I would recommend that we bring up the pages. I've had Matt mount them so that the notes are adjacent to the relevant pages in the budget. So Matt, why don't you bring up the first page? And why don't, instead of me rereading everything, because I feel like it's a pretty robust explanation, why don't you start your questions?
Do you,
Abby, do you
Sarah,
want to
do
go first or?
okay, can you explain what you did with this? Is the sports, or is sports out altogether? I'm just confused what happened because you did talk about that. You moved the sports line and I thought you stopped sports. So I don't.
We originally identified one of the employees under the line under personnel. Maybe if Matt, you can go to the next page.
Sure.
And we can, so we're looking at the right page. So if you see, it's a general category called payroll. And there was a category called sports program, which is 1, 2, 3, fourth from the bottom of that subset. It represented the entire salary of a single person on the staff, because at one point in the history of LMC, the sports program existed and was robust, and it was decided then to categorize that person's salary separately. Because LMC is now down to 4 full-time employees, and they all do multitasking across all areas of LMC's activities, it seemed to make more sense to have them all listed under full-time staff. And all we did was move that person from the line called sports program to the line called full-time staff. And if you look, the variance on the full-time staff is plus 65,000. And that's because the variance on the sports program is minus 67. So in fact, what we did was we actually managed to save $2,000 on full-time salaries for next year. And we combined the sports program salary line in with full-time.
So is there still somebody doing sports?
No. So that is
Okay.
per the direction and conversations we heard at the Board of Control. There was a consensus that the school should be paying for the sports program. We went back to the schools and had several meetings with the schools in which we relayed this information to them and asked that the schools come up with a mechanism to fund the sports programs. To this date, we have not received any word, and they actually switched over, at least Mamaroneck did, to local live TV, which is essentially one camera that's mounted on a pole and that pans left and right on the street, on the field, excuse me.
So is this person, so this is what I'm just confused. So is this person doing something other than sports now?
Right. So
Okay.
Rob, yep.
So
Rob
it's just
is
not a
handling-
sport, it's just a full-time position. It's not a sports position anymore.
Oh,
Correct.
so I think to
Correct.
clarify, do you have, you went from, was it 3 full-time employees under the full-time staff with the 4th one listed under sports, and now you have 5 in that line?
No, we have 4 in that
4.
line.
Okay, so
Three,
you
it
had, I'm
was-
sorry, you had 3 plus the sports, and now you just have 4 all in the same line.
Correct.
Correct.
Changing the
Okay.
names.
But the social media manager, is that a full-time position? Because when I was reading, I thought that's what it said also.
Mark, do you want to answer that?
Yes.
Well,
why
can
was-
we, wait, before you, can I just finish with this person still? So you stopped doing sports, but you still have a person, so there's really no savings from
Well,
stopping this?
remember, we've gone down from 7 full-time to 4 full-time
Okay,
over the course of the ongoing reductions in our funding. So yes, it's true. We're just recognizing what has been the truth for the past 2 years, especially under COVID, that these 4 full-time staff members are fully employed, providing services that are not sports related, but are definitely needed.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I got.
And so just to clarify, the person who was doing sports is now doing a variety of different things, not just sports?
Correct.
And then
We al-
how many, you have 4 full-time and how many part-time?
We have about 20 part-time people that we hire on a rotating as needed basis. So those are videographers, editors, technicians.
Were most of them involved in broadcasting of meetings prior to COVID?
Yes.
So they haven't been getting as much work, I assume.
Correct. You can see
Yeah.
that we've reduced that budget by $10,000. The line called irregular part-time.
Could you make this a little bigger?
Yeah, well, this is Tracy for.
No, this is not.
I don't know if that helps.
That's good, yes. that's
This
better.
isn't, you're right, this
I
isn't
did feel a little
Tracy's.
better.
There is a line right under, 2 under from full-time staff called irregular part-time, which has been dropped from 25,000 to a budget projection of 15,000, recognizing that the labor needed for these meetings is less.
And are your part-times 1099 employees?
No.
No,
How did I get paid? Through
hourly with taxes taken out like every
With
other
payroll.
employee.
Oh,
Okay.
Shall I answer the question about social media manager?
Yeah, go ahead.
The social media manager will be a full-time position. We have actually found an employment service that is becoming more and more common, has always been common in the film industry, where you actually pay a company a fee and they provide you with an employee of theirs. The person remains an employee of theirs, and all of the responsibilities that are attached to being an employee are the burden of the company that we retain. So that we pay the company a fee and we get the use of an employee. If we are unhappy with that employee or that employee leaves, the firm guarantees to refill the position at the same cost with our being able to choose an employee. So this, while it is more than we would be paying as a salary, it is probably much less than we would be paying if it was a full-time employee with burden. So This represents what we estimate to be the full-time cost for using that person. So not strictly an employee, using an employee retention service through which we get this person to do our work. Is that clear, or should I try again?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's clear.
Good.
For the social media, could you please provide us with the analytics and insights for your social media sites? I think you have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Are you guys on Twitter?
Yes,
Yeah. So could you provide us with the analytics and insights for those?
sure. I can send out a separate email with those.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Obviously, we
Screen
put
grabs
this
are fine. It
person,
doesn't need to be a.
just to be clear, while the analytics are what they are, one of the reasons we're bringing a media manager on is because we need to improve in that area significantly, and that's why we're spending money specifically in that area.
So what, I know you previously in the last budget, was it $20,000? I believe you had budgeted for the social media manager. What services were they providing for that?
They were working on all aspects of our social media, whether it was posting or providing analytics back to us, to management, working with nonprofit organizations, working with local organizations, governments, residents. We get quite a few requests that come in to share information. So what we've seen over the course of the past few years is really a switch from, our community bulletin board, which used to be the place where you would go to get your information, now over to social media. This way people can have a better chance of seeing the information. It's not just specific to the cable channel, but it's going to be everywhere. Also giving, of course, people a chance to share that information on their own channels and platforms, as well as comment.
And with the increased services, what difference do you expect to generate by the extra expense?
It's there certainly in addition to increasing numbers from our social media traffic, we also see this as a way to build our content and also as a way to promote what the organization is doing. We've heard for quite some time now a request to increase production services, but as part of that, we need to make sure that people in the community, as many people in the community, know who we are and what we do. So that plays very heavily into this addition to the social media manager and raising awareness and branding for the organization so that we can actually increase those services. And we've done very well this year, and we hope to continue to do that in the future. That's certainly one of the three legs that we're standing on moving forward is fundraising, production services, and then of course the franchise fees.
Thank you.
Just related to that, there was some people on our board who were just concerned, and we realized the balancing game you're in, but between that and the fundraising consultant, that you're spending a lot of money, on all of this, and want to make sure it's justified and it's going to pay out in the long run. So.
And go ahead, Mark.
Certainly in the area of fundraising, given the news of Larchmont's possible withdrawal, we have to accelerate our fundraising program significantly because clearly there will be some negative adjustment required. So yes, it's true, we're spending a lot of money, but we have to, if we are to be self-sufficient, we have to focus on the areas that are going to give us good results for future financial independence, and that's specifically in fundraising and social media.
Well, I think what I don't want to lose sight of here is that your reason for existence is also to educate the community about what's going on in the community, both governmentally and how we could all interact with each other better. So I guess, we're talking a lot about fundraising and we're talking a lot about social media, but, social media is just a tool. I'm hoping to further your mission.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. But also we need dollars to keep the doors open.
No, I understand that.
So I'm referring that none of these have a single purpose.
There was also, oh, go on.
Sorry, Abby, go ahead.
There was concern about that you're sort of, I don't know if plugging is the right word, but using the, like, what was it, $103,000 of the PP money? And how's that going to work next year when you have that hole to fill?
Well, the PPP money, which was forgiven, seemed to be money that was meant to be used to stabilize the organization. That's what it was used. The PPP funds were used throughout the country for that purpose. The fact that the loan was forgiven, I think, speaks to us about stabilizing LMC. And the fact is, because we didn't suffer a loss equal to the forgiven loan, we were in a fortunate position. So yes, it's true that part of our PPP, that we're using most of our PPP money next year, deferring in reality, the forgiveness of it is a way to jumpstart the fundraising and marketing that we need to do because of the possible changes in the Board of Control and the funding that streams from it. In a year from now, obviously, things are going to be different one way or another, and we will address that at the time we know what the facts are.
Any other questions about their budget?
My last question is just in your first paragraph on your presentation notes, can you give us exactly how do you keep us informed about how to live safely? Are there programs you've done or things I can go back?
Matt, why don't you get into what any plans we have for programming? It was an overview talking about what we've already been doing, really, and how we're going to continue to do it and do it more as time goes on because we're getting better at it.
Right. And that was really the goal, I think, or the recognition with the Empire Award that was given to us by Shelley Mayer in the New York State Senate, was in recognition of all of those programs that we ran and information that was shared during COVID and continues to be shared throughout COVID. God only knows how long we're going to continue to be in this situation, but we intend to be that backbone of communication and support for local organizations, government, residents alike.
So what, can you send me what the programs were besides the government meetings?
Sure, absolutely.
And I have one final question as well. In the notes, it talks about an assumption of a 20% increase in the public support. And I was just curious to know what that assumption was based on. How did you reach that number?
20% is a reasonable expectation. I've worked in nonprofit with budgets of 25 million and more, of which at least 60% is raised. And in my experience, increasing fundraising by any percentage each year is obviously a goal. 20% is a very healthy goal for an organization this small. Obviously, a large organization has more resources to call on to be able to raise more money. So we're hoping to capitalize on the success we've had, but frankly, Sunny Goldberg is a unique and much loved person in this community, and the gala we had for her was extremely successful. We can't necessarily count on each year being as successful as that was, but we have to find ways to replace that. So knowing that that gala could possibly be an outlier, we have to project a little more conservatively, and frankly, from an organization that went from virtually zero fundraising 2 years ago to where we are now, to look at a 20% increase year to year is a very aggressive approach. I would never see more than 10 or 15% in a larger budget, but I think we can handle it because we're small and nimble.
I wish you luck. It's an ambitious goal.
We're trying.
You are, and you're doing a great job.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other question on their budget?
That was all the questions that were given to me to ask.
Just Matt, just quickly, before we move on from LMC, I put Matt in touch with the mayor of Pelham, New York, because they were looking to enhance their cable access. See if we've gotten back to you? Or?
Yeah, I spoke with Chase, and we're actually trying to set up time for me to go in.
Chance.
And review exactly what they have, their current configuration, and use our expertise to try to build out a channel for them. And of course, this is a production service we would offer.
So that might be a possible revenue stream for LMC in the future. And if
Idea how much revenue something like that would generate, or you don't really know until you get in there?
Yeah, I would have to have further conversations.
I mean, they're a community too of about 7,000 or 8,000 people, I think, right? Okay, franchise fee compliance audit. Tracy, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I believe you received this proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, at our last meeting, you requested that we try to get some proposals for performing an audit of the 2 franchise agreements. I have been successful in getting one so far, and this is from the auditing firm of EFPR, which is a new auditing firm at the town. And they have a subsidiary, I guess, or a partnership, a business partner called Stonebridge.
Mm-hmm.
And they are experienced in doing royalty primarily audits, but they also have done a few franchise audits. So one of the things that I discussed with the auditing firm is the audit clause in our franchise agreements. So the audit clause allows us to audit the last 6 years of the franchise agreements that we have in place. So after speaking to them, we were talking about perhaps doing a 2-year audit and then going back if we find any, if they find any lost revenue or any anomalies or any inconsistencies. So they provided an estimate by the hour and with an estimate of the whole audit between $8,750 and $10,500. The reason for this is because the audit clause in the franchise agreement also stipulates that if there's any revenue that the franchisees owe us, that the auditing firms cannot be paid based on a percentage basis. Now, in practice, that's exactly what happens, right? The auditing firms get a percentage of what they find, but there was a clause in there. So they bid this based on a time and effort, rate. So that's the one audit price I received. I also spoke to Computel, which was an auditing firm that did the Village of Mamaroneck's audit last time. And he was very nice, Mike Caton, I believe. And he told me that he called today. He said that he's retiring from the firm and he's not taking on any more audits. But he did look at our agreements and called to tell me that he was very impressed with our agreements and that we must have really known what we were doing because they're pretty much ironclad. What he also shared with me is that he's done about 50 audits for Verizon And he's really never found any underpayment by Verizon. Cablevision, he's found a lot of underpayments, but they have since corrected what was causing those underpayments back in 2016. So he doesn't really think that, based on our contracts that he reviewed kind of quickly, he doesn't think that there will be any underpayments for us. And he also said that he really can't recommend any other auditors, that we can contact to do this kind of audit. So he was rather helpful with, obviously no proposal. The third auditor I contacted is called Municipal Audit Services, and I spoke to Mr. Messina last week. He's putting together a proposal, but he also indicated the same thing, that it would be a flat amount rather than on a percentage basis, only because of the clause. Now, interestingly enough, Mike Caton from Computel said that he's done most of his audits, even though he's retiring now, most of his audits were done based on a percentage basis. And the franchise or Verizon and Cablevision have never balked at that. So it's never been an issue, even though it's written that way. So I think that's where I stand right now. So,
Okay, so-
I think we're looking between 10 and 15,000 for an audit.
It's not bad. Oh, so we're waiting for other quotes is basically what you're telling us, right?
Just one more.
Okay.
And if anybody else can refer any other firms,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Go ahead, Mike.
Tracy, have you contacted the cable municipal assistants from the state to find out if they're still doing financial audits for free?
The Cable Municipal,
Cable
Assistant?
municipal assistants, the New York State Department of Public Service. I have a paper that I found in my file. It dates from 2003, but it says that the PSC will do an audit of franchise fee payments, but it takes a year to do it, but they'll do it for nothing. I admit they may still do it, they may not, I don't know, but it'd be worthwhile checking.
The only concern, I mean, we could check, Mike, but the only concern I would have about that is the Public Service Commission. In my experience, on almost everything they regulate is very pro-company instead of pro-consumer. So I guess I'd be, a lot of the people that get cycled in and out of those come out of the corporations that they regulate.
I hear you, but I also heard Tracy's comments about Verizon and Cablevision being pretty close to what they're sending, what they're supposed to be sending. So
No, I hear you. I just,
Well, and just out of curiosity, do we know if any other Westchester municipalities have gone through this process, and if they've, have they engaged in the audit, and if they have, what results have they found? Because, if either nobody's doing it because, that nobody's finding anything, or people have, but they haven't found any discrepancies, is it worth the expense?
I think you have to do it as part of.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Do we
I
have to
don't-
do it?
I don't know that we have to do it. I don't know that it's a requirement. I think in the research that I was doing, I understood it as something you may want to do, but not necessarily something that you had to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. The auditing firm EFPR did recently, I think, the town of Clarkson. I don't know where that town is. I also.
In Rockland.
It was in Rockland, yeah. I also checked with the controllers that I meet with every other week, and really no one has had a franchise fee audit done. They've had telephone audit done, but not franchise fees. So I wasn't able to get any further information about any of their audits.
I mean, we sometimes get solicitations, people, doing it for free for a percentage.
Right, and that's how I found one of the three that I contacted. I did
Okay.
get a solicitation, so I
Mhm.
called them. And he's on Long Island, and he's very, he's very knowledgeable and experienced, so we'll see what his price comes in at, but I expect it to be around 10,000-15,000.
All right.
It doesn't
Um,
seem like, if we don't have to do it, it doesn't necessarily seem worth it.
I can recirculate the slides from Sue Buskey as well, that she had presented, but I do believe in terms of franchise renewal process, she does identify that it requires franchise performance review of operator, as well as a community needs assessment. So I can circulate these slides to everyone.
I
Yeah,
don't
why
think
don't
that
you do
was a
that?
requirement. I thought that was a recommendation, though.
You know what, I'll email Sue, Tracy, and
Okay.
I'll CC everyone on the BOC. If that's helpful.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
You got it.
As far as timing, also, just to let you know, EFPR said that an audit like this would take about 3 to 4 months, because it's very difficult to get the information from Verizon and Cablevision. So just to keep that time frame in mind.
Okay, thank you. Adobe license.
Yep. So we had submitted to the Board of Control request for approval, purchase approval of 12 Adobe licenses. We use these for our video and photo editing, and I would consider this mission critical. We use this for pretty much everything that we do, and this has been an approved software purchase for several years now.
And how, why 12?
yeah.
The 12 computers that we use between staff and volunteers.
And this comes out of capital?
Capital, correct.
Anybody have any questions or concerns? Okay, I need a motion to approve purchasing 12 Adobe license agreements at a total cost of $3,484.80.
I'll move.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abby, got an eye there for me?
I don't know what's going on with my sound. I'm talking. I,
Okay, cable provider, let's do 6 and then 5, because one might lead into the other. Cable TV operating agreement, which is what we are here, discussion. I thought we were all going to, put forward what we'd like to see in an agreement. Are we still going to do that?
We can, well, so I think after speaking with the village board, I think our position is that we are willing to engage and continue to fund LMC, but wish to do so directly, not through the BOC moving forward. So
Sorry, please explain that, how that works.
how that works is that we would like to enter into an agreement and have our own arrangement directly with LMC. So we would receive our franchise funds. They would be listed as an item in our budget, and then it would be an expense to LMC directly from the village of Larchmont.
Okay, so that would be the end of the sharing agreement. So we really don't have to.
Well, not necessarily, because the sharing
Yeah.
agreement was created purely for the purpose of negotiating the franchise fee. So we are willing to work with the town of Mamaroneck and the village of Mamaroneck to negotiate.
I think we have a different goals and stuff. I think that you're going to use our population to better your deal. I think this was a marriage that was born of 30-something years ago, and we all had the same goals, and I don't think we all have the same goals. I'm not one to give out all the gravy without being a part of this endeavor that we've had for the past 40 years. And I'll have to talk this over with my board. But we did talk it over, but I will again. And, you could watch the conversation. It happened on LMC TV at an open meeting that was televised. And, I don't think that we'd be willing to renegotiate a franchise agreement because this was part of what it was for us. It was about creating something that, you obviously don't want to be a part of anymore.
I kind of disagree, but we're entitled to our differences of opinion,
we do.
and it is what it is. And again, if we want to negotiate together, we can negotiate together. If you're not interested in that, we can negotiate on our own.
Okay, that's
We're
fine.
willing to do that.
Okay, then we should probably,
Well, I mean, I just want to say there may be a middle ground where there could be a intermunicipal agreement that would, and we could decide what we'd want to include in that. And if there could be a level of support for LMC TV but with the funds going to the municipalities, I mean,
Yeah,
there are other alternatives we could investigate that would hopefully
I'll
benefit
be
everyone.
What's important to the village is
I
that
don't
we
need- I
have
don't need to
transparency
negotiate
and
with
I'm sorry, the
Sorry.
one.
it doesn't behoove me particularly to negotiate with Larchmont if they're not going to be part of this grander scheme. I mean, the 6,000 people doesn't help my negotiating position as much. If there's no buy-in to what we've been doing here for 40 years.
Well, it's from the village's perspective, it's important that we, have transparency with respect to the franchise fees, that our residents understand what's happening. And again, we're willing to work directly with LMC, whether that happens, directly with them, or if Abby's talking about an IMA, I'm sure I can take that back to my board and get their opinion on that.
Okay. You do what you got to do. Then we should actually be, I want to work on a letter to the cable providers telling them that we're not going to negotiate as a group because, I don't see why I need to.
Okay.
Okay. Any other business before the board? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Abby. I didn't want to cut
No,
you
I
off.
was gonna say, do we need to set another meeting? But I don't know if we're existing anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if
so-
Well, we're technically, I mean, we're existing until next November.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
So we,
set a meeting in 3 months from now. We were doing it 3 months increments. So that would be
March.
January, February, March. How about 3 months from today? March 7th.
Hold on.
what do you, am I in the wrong? I'm in the wrong.
Just Sarah, when did that discussion happen with the Larchmont board?
Yesterday at our work session.
Was there a vote?
To what?
To continue the course that you just said?
The entire board was in agreement. Yes.
Was there a vote?
There was not a formal resolution passed, no, but we all agreed.
Okay, because I'm just, part of what I found interesting and just disheartening about this whole thing is the amount of times I've heard the word opaque from Larchmont. And it seems that none of your decisions happen in the open. And
Well, that's your opinion, because they all happen at public meetings. They're open to the public. Anybody can participate.
do
Anybody.
you
can
have an
come watch.
agenda do you have an agenda where it was on the agenda that was published?
I have not been on the village calendar, but it should have been posted on the village calendar 24 hours in
But
advance.
That what the agenda was?
I've not been on the village calendar to
Okay.
look at the agenda, but it was on the agenda.
It's
I'm
a
assuming
different
it was
thing to
posted.
have, in a work session in a small conference room and be making,
And again, Tom-
you're entitled to make those decisions, but to then call other people opaque, it was astounding to me. To a board that Larchmont has been a member of for 40 years. All of a sudden it became opaque. I just didn't think that had to happen.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, Tom. I disagree, and it is what it is.
Okay.
So
March 7th, you folks open?
No, well, that's a Monday. Is that good?
no,
for
I
you?
can't if it's a
No.
Monday. No.
Usually we do Tuesday or
I could do
Thursdays.
Tuesday, the 8th.
Okay, Tuesday, the 8th. Just let me quickly check, but I don't think I planned that far ahead, but who knows? I believe it's 2022 already.
My dad's birthday.
I have a Westchester Joint Waterworks meeting. How about Thursday the 10th?
I think that's fine.
5:30? What works better for you folks? 5:30.
5:30 is better.
5:30 is better. Yeah.
And I appreciate the accommodation today. I just have interviews for hiring a police lieutenant. Okay,
Thank
And
you.
quick question, just same procedure here, Zoom links recorded, sent out.
the same thing.
Well, I mean, as I say, we might meet in person depending on.
Oh, that's right. But if it is in person, then we have to televise it from, we could use this conference room.
Okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn. I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
If I don't
Good
see
night,
you, we'll have a
everyone.
happy holiday season.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.